Hey guys, it's me, Wilson, and we're back with another video on F1 22. And it's a bit of a different video. This video is how to race like an F1 Esports driver. And when I thought of this idea, I didn't really think of aiming it towards people who are in leagues like PSGL, WR, especially people who are roughly tier 6, 5 and above. Mainly because people like that kind of know what they're on about. They know things like ERS, they know things like strategy. I'm aiming this more towards people who are just not too sure on how to race on this game, in the sense they don't know what to do with strategy, they don't know what to do with ERS, they don't know when they should let people by, when they should fight, when to pit, things like that. And I thought I'd give it a crack. I've always wanted to make a video like this, but I've not got to it. I've had the idea in my head for about 6 months, and I've not uploaded on YouTube for a good few months or so. So probably a good video to hopefully get back on the upload and grind. I am a little bit unwell. I don't know if you can tell, so there might be pauses in this video where it sounds very unusual. But yeah, I'm very sorry if that's the case. I'm just not very well. Thanks to Barry Burman. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. So I've taken a snapshot from the qualifying results. This was PSGL Mexico. I've chose this race because I'm pretty sure there was quite a few strategies in it. There was also a safety car at one point, and yeah, it was just a bit of a chaotic race, which I'll get into more detail when we get into it. But yeah, this is the snapshot from qualifying. We were P4, a 6.55. I believe the esports pole was a 0.3. I think it was a 0.3. So yeah, you can see we're about, the pole time here was about 2 tenths off, but at the time, I don't think this lap time was that bad, to be honest. It puts P4, so it couldn't be awful. But yeah, everyone is on softs. The thing different with this game is your Q2 tyre does not judge what you start on. So if you qualify on the softs in Q2, you don't have to start on those softs. So you've got a free tyre range as well. But one thing to keep in mind is even before you start the race, you've kind of got to look at who's around you. So, for example, we've got Lucas behind us. At the time, no one knew he was a part of McLaren, but we did, and that is my teammate, Lucas Blakely. So it's a bit, you kind of got to humble yourselves in some respect. I know Lucas is quicker than me, so it kind of gets to the point where you're like, if he gets a better start, you need to be prepared to kind of just let him go without losing as much time. But then you've got someone like Piotr, you know you're in similar level with Piotr, you should fight him. You've got Brendan's quite aggressive. Tomic can be aggressive, so you've just got to kind of look who's about you. You've got to pick your battles. Then you've got Yarno all the way down in 9th, but you kind of know he'll be up there at one point. So even at this stage, you're kind of trying to evaluate what's going to be going on in the race. But yeah, without further ado, let's get onto the grid and try and see what tyres people are on. So we're now at the strategy screen. We're starting on the hards, as you can see, going on to the mediums. This is because at the time, I think our thinking was behind it. The mediums fire up quicker than the hards because of the cold tyres. As well as, at this point, we had the tyre temperature glitch, so we're all starting in 70 degrees. But yeah, I can't remember if we done tons of sweat for this race, but yeah, we kind of just thought of a strategy slapped on. We didn't really think too much about strategies for PSGL, as it wasn't massively important, so we kind of just started in the hards. 36.8 laps of fuel. Again, that's just a rough estimate. You can put your fuel lower if you're in DRS, so if you're measuring your fuel in clean air, so let's say you're doing 4 laps in clean air and you say, oh, I use this much fuel, so this is how much fuel I'll need for the whole race. If you're in a DRS train, let's say you start 8th, you can easily underfuel. So if you want to go that much in depth, you can. You can sit behind a friend maybe in DRS and measure how much fuel you use then, as it is quite different when you're in DRS compared to clean air. So just something to think about if you want to go into that much detail. Doesn't gain you much, but it always gains you something. You'd rather gain than not gain. But nevertheless, let's head into the race where we can kind of see what tyres everyone's on. You see, we've got 25 seconds on the timer. Sorry, my throat. But you can see we paused there to try and look what tyres people are on. You can't really see because of that loading screen on the right. But you can hear me say Yarnell's on mediums at the moment, so I always recommend doing that. If you feel like you have enough time, just pause, have a look at what tyres people are on. But as you can see, the 3 cars in front of us are on hard tyres. We are in a good position right now because we'll be getting slipstream off of Barry if we get a good start. So nevertheless, you can see top left, a lot of people on hards around us. They've got 5 red lights. And away we go. Do we get a good start compared to the cars around us? It's important at this point in the race that you try and find slipstream, especially in a track like Mexico. Wherever you can, just try and find slipstream anywhere. Tomic darts to the right, sit right behind them. Make sure you're getting that toe all the way up to turn 1. Here you want to be in the outside so you can brake later than any other car. The car on the inside is always going to get blocked in by Barry at this time of the race. You can see Tomic has a little bit of a snap. We do as well. The tyres are really cold on this patch as they were 70 degrees. We can't really go for a move on Tomic, and you can see we go for the inside. And as I was explaining there, Lucas goes round the outside of us. He knew we were going to kind of get boxed in there by Tomic on the apex, so there's not much we can do here. Lucas Blakely then, he's going to get the move done on us, and at this point we're kind of forced to back out. So that's us down to P5. We've lost 1 position on the start, and now we're already thinking about Brendan. We're not going to be able to free pass Lucas. We know Lucas is quicker. We spoke about this before the race, and we just know he's got a bit more raw speed than us. So we've got Brendan behind us. We want to keep him behind. We've also got Yarno behind us. So we want to make sure we can keep Brendan behind and make sure Yarno gets past without us losing as much time as possible. Brendan tries to go for a move, and I think at this point he was trying to go for a move and kind of set us offline so he could get us here. But he saw Yarno behind him, I think, and kind of just conceded position to him before he tried to do anything on us. But yeah, that is the first full lap done. And now we have Yarno behind us, who's, yeah, just going to completely fly by us. And this is when you need to choose, do you fight him, do you not? And he's on the medium tyre. There's no point in fighting him. Usually, most of the time, you will get him at the end of the race. You're on the optimal strategy, he's on the optimal strategy, so you just got to trust that your strategy works. Don't use any ERS to fight him. Just don't use anything. If anything, you'll hurt both of your races, and it's just, yeah, it's just not how what your strategy is made to do at this point in time. And we've got Jake Benham behind us as well, Yarno's teammate, doing the same thing. We do use a bit of ERS here, but that is just to stay within the second gap of Yarno. Jake goes by again, and as we did with Yarno, you do not fight it. At this point, their tyres are still much better than ours. I'm not sure how much quicker, but probably in the range of half a second plus. So, yeah, fighting it would just be stupid. You could use all your battery and just fight as hard as you can, but yeah, there's just really no point. But now we're more looking behind than ahead. We've got 2 medium runners in front of us. We're not really going to gain positions in this stint unless something goes wrong. But, moving on to lap 4, we'll just pause it here. We've got Brendan behind us. So Brendan Lee, 4 tenths back, and Danny Bresney. We know Brendan is an aggressive driver, and then we've got 2 medium runners in front of us. So as I said, we're not going to be making any positions here. So at this point in the race, this is when you really want to try and save ERS because you're not going to gain positions. It's just really unlikely. Those mediums are going to hold on by the time you pit, and if not, they will pit before you. So there's just no point. And then you've got Brendan behind you, who's extremely aggressive. So you're just going to have to hope that you can save the ERS even. You can also see that Danny Bresney in the top left has lost DRS. So that's good for us. So we're hoping that we can kind of keep this DRS train that we have up front in its own wee group. If you look in the bottom left when we get in this straight, you can see that there is a big DRS gap to Danny Bresney and behind him. So it's looking good for us at that moment in time. Moving on to lap 5 though, you can see Yarno's carved his way through the field a little bit. Jake's still just in front of us. He's not made any positions. But as you can see, Lucas actually lags out of this race. And that makes our life very difficult as we have a big tank slapper. And yeah, that has not made life any easier for us. Brendan Lee, he does back out of that. I don't think he goes for the move here because if he did, he probably would have got a penalty. Which wouldn't have been too bad for us because we've already lost anyway. But yeah, Lucas lagging out there, that has really screwed us over because we've now lost DRS to Jake Benham in front, and you're asking for a miracle, to be honest, for us to keep that, because now Jake Benham's in 6 lap old mediums, we're in 6 lap old hards. His mediums are still quicker. Yeah, there's just really no way we'll be catching up to them. and that is us pretty much out of the fight, unless Brendan Lee can pass us and get into DRS. So that's another thing. Moving on to lap 7 at this point, yes, I'm still using my RS, but that does not mean I'm fighting. I'm just trying to claw back as much time as I can to Jake, and we do let Brendan go, hoping he has a little bit more ERS maybe. He can use it and hopefully fight back, catch up to Jake, and get us back in this DRS train. If you know much about league racing, you always want to be in a DRS train for as long as you can, really, unless you're quicker. As yeah, it's just quicker in general. The DRS in the straight gains you so much, and it makes life really difficult for cars behind to pass. But at this point in the race, we've now got Ruben behind us, and ideally we're on lap 8, and we didn't really know when the mediums dropped off, but I was kind of hoping to be able to keep him behind. But you can see we're just struggling a little bit for pace after that tap from Brendan. We've lost DRS. And yeah, we're just struggling a little bit for pace, so we have no option to let Ruben by. Again, no point in fighting it, and we may as well. I was kind of hoping we'd keep DRS and we could just keep Ruben behind. That's what I would have done. But these things happen. Not much we can do. Ruben probably will catch DRS, as you can see he's in the quicker tyre. And that gets us back in the DRS train. But you can see after Lucas's games crashed, it has closed up the whole pack again. And that makes it a little bit more difficult for us. It would have been nice if we could have gained a 2 or 3 second gap to that group behind. Yeah, it's very rare that that happens in league racing, and when it does, it's very good. But yeah, you can see our engineers tell us to box on lap 16, and this is just us trying to get somewhat of an undercut. Even though the mediums will be cold, we want to get them fired up, we want to get going, and yeah, we're going to pit onto a set of mediums and just hope we can do something of it. So coming into the pits, make sure you don't extend that white line. That is a rule in PSGL. So is in WR, I think. So yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. Making sure you get your optimal pit stop time. And putting on a set of mediums. So if you look about you, you can see who's went onto what tyre. Valentin onto the hards, Lucas onto the mediums. And yeah, now this is your out lap. So this lap is usually the most important lap of your race. This is when you really need to push as hard as you can. And you can see weaving in the straights. This is another thing you can do in your league races, warming up these tyres. Not too much, because you will lose time by doing this, but heating up the tyres is never a bad thing. But yeah, this is the most important lap of your sorry, of your race usually. Lap 18 though, I think this is 2 laps on. Lucas is about 3 seconds back, and we set the fastest lap of the race, just showing how good these medium tyres are. So who do we get ahead of? That is Ruben Petrino on the hard tyre. His hard heat up will be awful, and we get by him pretty easily on the undercut. Jarno Opmeer on the hard tyre, doing pretty well considering his strategy. And then that's Jake Benham just ahead. He's on the hard tyre as well, and you're about to see why you usually don't start on the mediums and go to the hards, because his tyre warm-up is awful. If you just look through this slow speed section, how much he's struggling to get temperature into these tyres. You can see we're literally pushing him through these corners. We're not meaning it. We're going pretty slow, to be honest, and we're still pushing him through these corners. And yeah, at this point he ruined our race quite badly. Not his fault, but yeah, there wasn't really much we could do. And that's usually why you don't start on the mediums to hards, because if yeah, like we've lost DRS to Brendan on Jarno now, and that's pretty much our race over. There's really no way. I just can't see us catching 1.9 seconds to Jarno. He has DRS off Brendan, and 21. We do gain about half a second, but yeah, there's just not much we can do. He'll gain about 3-4 tenths in this straight. And yeah, now it's all about just trying to focus on your own race. You know you're not going to catch the top 5, so it's all about having a little bit of battery for the end, saving your tyres. But moving on to lap 32, we let Lucas by, trying to hope we can maybe he can help us drag him along. We've got Danny behind us, so we're trying to just keep some ERS to defend from him at the end of the race. That is our main priority at the moment. But on lap 32, a safety car does come out. Now you've got to decide, do you pit? What do you do in this stage? I would pause it, but you've got to think, what do you do? You're trying to think as quick as you can. Do you pit? And I thought, you know what, we're P7, we may as well pit in softs. I see a lot of the front train stay out. So I thought, we're P7, it's not a lot of points anyway. It's not like we're on for a top 4 or anything, or a crazy result. So we may as well pit, we may as well take that risk and put on some softs. The only issue is these softs are worn. And I believe at one point in quali we had the opportunity to save our tyres, but we didn't do it because we were like, we may as well just go out anyway. But yeah, that's another thing. If you do full quali, always try and save a set of softs, even if you think we may as well do the lap, because situations like these are very important. But now, the safety car restart, it's all about timing this when they're going to go, and it looks like they went now. Just always be ready to plant that throttle, and we're going to get going now. Our engineer was telling us, I think it was the top 4 or 5 are all on old tyres. You need to keep that in mind. Everyone has a full battery around you as well. You also have to keep that in mind. We've got Lucas ahead of us. Tomic got a 5 seconds. One thing to note about that is it's probably a game bug, so do not take that as a proper penalty. Fight him like he does not have a penalty. But Carter Lundy is next up. He's on the medium tyre. You know you'll be able to get by him pretty easily. So it's all about damage limitation. Depending on the driver, depends how hard they will fight it. So you can see Carter is actually defending, which if you were him, I wouldn't really recommend. Maybe I would recommend defending because it is only 2 laps to go. But you wouldn't want to defend too crazy. He done pretty well. He didn't defend too aggressively. He just done as much as he could. But up into P9, and we did start when that safety car came out. We were P7 it was. So our main objective now is just to get P7 or higher. If we can get P7, we just stayed where we were. Maybe we would have gained more if we stayed out, but it's always I forgot the word. It's always hindsight. That's it. Hindsight is a beautiful thing in racing. But now you can see in the top left, Jake Benham on the hard tyres. So we know we can get him. We're in a fresh soft compared to Jake's old hard tyres. We know this is crunch time. You can see him fighting very hard with Tomic. At this point, you just want to sit back, let them use their battery, let them push each other off. You do not want to use anything, because for anything, they could derate at the end of this race, meaning you literally use your maximum battery capacity. So you can see they're fighting very hard going through turn 1, 2 and 3, and now we're going to try and get the move done on Jake Benham. We are quite far back, but you've just got to keep remembering that you've got a lot more grip than them. If you're this far back, you just have to keep in your mind that you are going to gain on them. Look, 1 braking zone and you already gained 3 tenths. You can see they're fighting up ahead. Keep in mind they could crash up ahead as well, so you've just got to keep on the back of Jake Benham. This could go your way very easily. So it's very important to pick your moments here. At this point, it's looking like you're only going to be able to get Jake. So put all of your focus onto just overtaking Jake. Don't even think about cars ahead. You're never going to be able to get P6. Tomic, that's Tomic's job at the moment. You can see Jake is flashing. When that red light starts blinking, that means they're below 10%. So that's the other thing that you should keep in mind. Can you get him here? You may as well take the risk. Dive bomb down the inside. Jake does leave space. He is a clean driver. If that was anyone else, you probably wouldn't want to send it. You're 3 wide. You've got to keep that in mind. Round the outside. Can you get it done? Trying to get the power down on the exit. We sadly don't get it. We finish P8. So we actually lose points to where we were. So in hindsight, I think we maybe should have stayed out. I think at the end of that race we actually got P6 after penalties, but on track we did lose. And yeah, not a great race from us, but that's not what the video is about. The video is about how to race like an esports driver, and I hope helps. A few things I'd like to go over. Like I said at the end, when you see some of these light flashing, that does mean they're below 10%. Definitely one thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're close to 10%, always try and keep it above. So let's say you're on the straight, you're nearly at the end of the straight and you're at 12%. Try your hardest to not show that you're, try not show your blinking light. If you can try your hardest just to not go below 10% and show that blinking light, it's always good. It's always a bonus, because as soon as they see that, they will attack. It's usually just a ripple effect from there. But yeah, I hope that video was somewhat useful. If you have any questions in the comments, feel free to ask. I'll always answer them. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you other than always try different types of strategies in practice. Always practice with friends. Do race practice as well. It's much more important than you would think. For example, like Yarno started P9, finished P4. The race is a lot more important than you think, as well as sometimes the optimal strategy isn't always the best. You can see from what we thought there, we thought Yarno done the non-optimal strategy and gained more positions than us. So yeah, a lot of things can change in league racing. Always try the strategies. Always make sure you're picking your battles. If you, let's say you're 9/10 behind the car going into a braking zone and they're gaining a second, but they're fighting another car, you think you're going to lose the ERS, don't use your ERS. You're always going to gain back. They're always going to fight. Small things like these, just try not over panic yourself in your league race. But yeah, I wish I wrote a notebook and things I could tell you, but that's as much as I can think of right now. But if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll try and upload more videos in the future. And if you've got any questions about your league racing journey or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer. But yeah, that's me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.